If your plants are struggling and not thriving, switch the pots to terracotta pots. They're amazing. They help to keep roots really healthy by maintaining proper air-moisture balance.
And that we would be the ones left behind.
1, 2, 3.
The stories I've been told, they never see.
Today I am replanting this guy. He's been doing so well even though he had a completely incorrect pot. So I'm giving him a nice terracotta one as a reward for being such a good plant.
Oh, so scary. There's no water. It is a lot of water.
Oh, I got it out.
Let's take it out. Got plant.
Time has gone and I grew up.
Oh
Somehow
my
made it
God.
through without
Yeah.
losing
Put it
sight.
there so it doesn't dirty.
And I still wonder where.
Now look at this one. It's called a T-Rex and he's a bully. He took over the pot of his neighbor aloe vera, so now I'll have to cut him halfway and let him grow new roots again.
They never seem to leave my mind. And this road that I am.
This is a type of philodendron plant, I think it's called. And these plants make really long vines. So once it gets the correct pot, I think that's when the vines will start coming out. And I'm really curious to see how it's gonna look like since the leaves are so huge.
We have to try and keep up.
One thing to keep in mind when you're using terracotta pots is that you might need a bottom plate under the terracotta plate, because unless it has lacquer coating, the water from the pot might seep into your wooden surfaces like hardwood floors or wooden furniture and cause mold rings and water damage.
If you found a way out.
Here in the prairies, the snowy, stormy weather continues on, and according to our groundhog, we won't see spring anytime soon. Unless I have to drive somewhere or have to be outside, I don't mind it too much, because I do have a lot of projects that I set up for myself for the end of this winter. And today the project is to clean this little shelf. This week, I started feeling a little bit down with the dreary weather, the state of the world, and just all the restrictions we have. So I felt like things are laying heavily on me. And when I feel this way, I find that the most helpful thing is to find some sort of goal that is independent of everything else. And when I have a set of goals, then I can just concentrate on that. And it helps me to move along. I like keeping my green onions and cilantro in water to keep them fresh for longer. I also added this big jar of baking soda and vinegar because I reach out for them a lot when I clean my stainless steel and glassware. Also, for easy access while cleaning, I added my homemade all-purpose cleaner and glass cleaner, and I switch the top on one of them so that I can tell them apart more easily. A lovely and sunny day, finally, which also means that you can see the dust. I don't know if you ever noticed, but dust has a shadow, and when the sun comes out, especially this beautiful spring sun, that's when you can really start seeing how dusty things have gotten over the winter. So this is what I'm doing today. I am removing some old appliances that I haven't been using for a while.
And I'll back you up. Wherever you're going, I'm going to. I'll follow you through the
I like to dedicate this corner of the counter to my beverages. In summer it's nice to have my juicer and smoothie maker here since it's right next to the fridge. And in winter this corner is full of teas, coffees, and other hot beverages. You know the phrase, it's always darkest before the dawn? I find it to be so true for myself. I always find myself to be at the lowest point right before things start to change. I felt so down at the beginning of this week, and today the sun is shining. The forecasts for the next week look a lot more like spring, and even the public announcements sound a lot more cheery than last week. So no matter how heavy your heart feels, it's important to keep on going because the next chapter could be just around the corner.
I'll still be here. We'll fix these.
On another note, this week I also got this rack that relieves pressure when you're standing for a very long period of time. I also got IKEA kitchen towels. These are the 75-cent ones, and they're extremely absorbent, so they're perfect for all kinds of household and kitchen tasks. If you make a switch from paper towels to cloth towels, the key is to keep them dry between uses. I always hang mine to dry before I put them in a laundry basket. This way they never develop the smell of mildew. More snow for us, so my husband and my son made a little craft out of a coconut, a kakamore, staring down the snow outside and showing his disapproval.
I just wanna say that I feel that our love is real.
A cold day is always a good day to make some fresh homemade bread, and today we decided to do it together with my little boy. So I assembled all the ingredients ahead of time just so that it's easier for us to just plop it into the bread maker and hopefully have a delicious loaf of bread a few hours down the road.
I just wanna hold you for forever.
Cooking with little kids is obviously a lot more time consuming and more difficult than it would be otherwise, but I always try to include him as much as I can because he enjoys it, he loves it so much, and I find that he just learns a little bit, obviously at 4 years old, but still he's getting the knowledge that he needs for later in life, and it's just a fun time together. If you take aside all the spilled flour and whatever not. But overall, I think it's worth it.
No, wait a second. I'm looking for birds.
I just wanna love you right.
I wanted to film it fresh out of the bread maker, but somehow half of it got devoured before I got my hands on camera. So just to give you a sense of what we ended up with, here is the remaining half.
One thing they will promise, they're building you a throne. If only you had seen, they won't leave the truth alone.
I'm embarrassed to say how long I was planning to get to this project and never got to it. It must have been a few years. We have a ton of holes all over the walls on our main floor. little nicks and chips and holes from the nails. So finally I am putting some drywall in those holes and making sure that they're ready for painting.
100 billion, 100 million.
Leave the motor on. He'll turn around, but you will be gone.
I patched all the walls yesterday. Now I sanded them and cleaned them so they're ready for paint. I'm using this lazy technique with a sponge instead of a roller and sort of gently pat the paint around the spot that I have fixed, creating this pattern that reminds me of eggshell, so that at the end you can't see the exact spot that I have covered up.
They leave you in the night. Now don't believe him, he's a liar and a sugar.
This completes my week of projects. Thank you so much for staying till the end, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
What you have to say, but don't forget.